What's going on, everyone? Had a great breakfast this morning with the local ham club, and one of the big SKYWARN guys was there. So it got me thinking, with this storm coming, when a winter storm hits, most people think the first thing to fail is the power grid, but it's not. The first thing to fail is usually your mobility. And once mobility goes, everything else follows pretty predictably. Responders know this, and they prep for storms differently than an average person. Responders don't plan for snow. We plan for the sequence of failures that we know snow creates. And here's the actual order of things. Mobility fails first. Before any deep snow gets on the ground, the roads can already be clogged. People are racing around. They're trying to get home from work, or they're out panic shopping. So there is this increased volume of people just losing their minds on the road, which of course leads to crashing. Or if they don't have the right vehicle, just that little bit of snow on the ground causes them to get stuck, and then they abandon vehicles. These obstacles cause the plows to fall behind. And due to all that, now your emergency response times start to lag. By losing that mobility, you instantly start to lose options. At the same time, 911 call volume spikes. As the ground conditions deteriorate, we already said there's more people out there rushing around, and that creates the first wave of preventable emergencies. Now you start stacking slip and fall injuries, stranded motorists, medical calls, and with cold weather settling in, and this whole winter has been cold, people have been running their heaters nonstop. Everybody's firing them back up, so now you're going to have carbon monoxide alarms going off. Here's where all three branches of public safety start feeling the pressure at the same time. Your police are getting hammered with crashes and with cars that are spun out, with disabled vehicles blocking lanes, if there are traffic lights out from any power outages that are in the area, plus just doing welfare checks on vulnerable residents. And in addition to all that, there's just calls that they simply can't reach because the mobility is collapsing. Police see the transportation network breaking down in real time. Then your fire departments, they're going to start getting hit with those CO alarm calls from improper heater and generator use, plus electrical fires from overloaded circuits. You're also going to get a fire response if there are any down power lines or arcing lines in the wind, plus structure fire calls, compounded by the fact that access is going to be limited or delayed, and they're getting requests for lift assist and for manpower assist and for medical first response. Fire sees the life safety hazard spike before the grid fully fails. And then EMS, they're going to start getting overwhelmed by falls and fractures and cardiac events and exposure patients, people who can't self-transport because the roads are deteriorating, and they're dealing with delayed response times due to the snow-covered routes. Plus, you're going to have issues with nursing homes and oxygen-dependent residents calling early because they know that hospitals are going to start approaching their surge or diversion levels. All of this hits 911 at the same time. So your 911 dispatch centers, they start getting overwhelmed long before the grid does. Not because the storm is catastrophic, but because the call volume ramps up faster than the infrastructure can handle. This is the moment where, from your personal preparedness, having a layered comms and neighborhood level intel becomes critical, because the responders, as I just said, are already stretched thin before the real outages even begin. So then finally, the power is going to start dropping. With this storm, especially your ice and the wet, heavy snow, it's going to just add a ton of weight to the utility lines. It's going to cause trees to snap, which is going to take out distribution lines, and the transformers will start to go. Once that happens, your cell service is going to degrade. Towers run on batteries, and the batteries don't last all that long. And this is all part of the curve that responders are watching, and it's the curve that you should be preparing for. So I can tell you, responders don't wait for the storm. We prep in layers, because these type of scenarios, like storms and whatnot, are really a luxury because they announce themselves and they give us time to prep. We already talked about it. So addressing that first layer, the mobility layer, getting the chains for your vehicle ready to go or whatever traction devices you're using, making sure your fuel's topped off and having spare fuel, and putting your cold weather kits in your vehicle, that is a no-brainer. Another thing we'll do is pre-position units before the roads degrade. And this could be you just putting your vehicle in an easily accessible position should you need it. Another thing that's done is choke points are mapped out and known problem areas. And this is a great thing to do, and identifying who they or who you won't be able to reach once conditions worsen. And then right behind that, the second layer would be comms. And with the comms, baked into it is situational awareness. EOCs are activating, and they are starting all of their operations to include things like pre-storm check-ins with hospitals and with utility companies. They're also monitoring SKYWARN and DOT feeds, which you can absolutely do, and also assigning information roles. They know who's going to gather information, who's going to relay the information, and who logs it all. And then on the personal or personal responder role, making sure you either have redundant radios or at least spare batteries. Now, here's how you take that same mindset and apply it to your family or your neighborhood. So again, the first layer, build your own mobility plan. It should be something along the lines of stay home once the storm starts if you can, but have your vehicles parked facing outwards. Keep your walkways clear for EMS access. Have the traction devices and a shovel ready to go, and know your stay or go threshold before the storm hits. Also, have a layered comms plan. This is where GMRS, ham, and neighborhood networks absolutely shine. Have something established so that you have, maybe one family channel, one neighborhood channel, and then one out of area contact. And probably the most important thing would be just a really simple check-in schedule. And then beyond that, build a situational awareness plan, monitor SKYWARN, track the outage maps as long as you're able to, watch the DOT cameras for the road conditions. And while you're doing all that, keep notes of anything important that you observe or that you hear, so that if you do have to go mobile, you can remember and recall any of the pertinent reports you got and coordinate all that with your neighbors. And I think the way to incorporate all of this into a nice, clean package would be to build a 6, 12, 24-hour plan. 6 hours before, charge everything. Fuel your vehicles, check on your neighbors, agree on comms during the storm, stay put, run a neighborhood check-in, log all of the hazards that you're hearing or seeing, and then after the storm, just expect delayed response times from responders. Expect cell service to degrade, and expect any sort of power restoration to take longer than what they're telling you. The storm is coming. I wanted to put this playbook out there so you could kind of copy it and build your layers. And if you do all that, you'll stay ahead of the curve every single time. Look, I'm looking forward to it being almost 60 degrees by Thursday. And with that, we'll see you on the next one. Stay safe.
Static buzz, frequencies clear. Brand squads like the danger is near. Radio waves, cut through the night. Tactical moves, we strike with mic. Reach the door, flesh and clear. Echoes loud, in your ear, coordinates set, we move as one. Missions hot, the battle's won. Yeah. Radio ran, we on the air, signal strong. We're everywhere, technical sound. The hype is live, friend don't stop. We strategize. Check your 6, the shadows creep. Silent steps, we never sleep. Call the shots, the team's in sync. Radio crack, we're on the brink. Breach the door, flashing clear, echoes loud. In your ear, coordinates set, we move as one. Missions hop, the battle's won.